Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly an honor to welcome you all to this special gathering as we celebrate International Women's Day 2025 under the theme for all women and girls, right, equality, empowerment. Today we came together to recognize the immense contributions to of women and girls in every aspect of life, at home, in the workplace, and across society. The theme of is the powerful reminder that true progress happens when every woman and girl, regardless of background and circumstance, has access to her rights, is treated with equality, and is empowered to reach her full potential. As we begin this important occasion, it is my privilege to extend a warm welcome to Professor Lakshman R. Vatavala, President of CMA Sri Lanka, Mr. Ennayaka Bandara, Vice President of CMA Sri Lanka, Mr. Kosala Disanayaka, CEO of CMA Sri Lanka, Council members of CMA Sri Lanka, committee members of Women Leadership Committee, honored guests and invitees, members of CMA Sri Lanka and staff of CMA Sri Lanka. We deeply appreciate your presence here today as we come together to inspire, empower, and pave the way for a future where all women and girls can thrive. To formally commence our event, it is my pleasure to invite Ms. Darshani Vatavala, Chairperson of CMA Sri Lanka's Women's Leadership Committee and Director Deloitte Partners to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening. Professor Lakshman R. Vatavala, President CMA Sri Lanka, Mr. Ennayaka Bandara, Vice President of CMA Sri Lanka, Council members of CMA Sri Lanka, Ms. Chamila Kure, Chairperson of the SAFA Women's Leadership Committee, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to celebrate International Women's Day with CMA Sri Lanka. Our discussion today will focus on the theme for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment, aligned to the UN Women's Day theme of 2025. This year marks the 30th year of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, a visionary 1995 plan agreed by 189 governments to achieve equal rights for all women and girls. Sri Lanka was also a signatory. International Women's Day is a chance to rise and demand action and to deliver on the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action to make the world equal and better for everyone. So how has Sri Lanka fared? I have here some interesting facts from the national level report that Sri Lanka had prepared on the progress made and challenges encountered in the implementation of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. The labor force participation rate for women has declined further to 29.4% in 2023 from 2021-22. The report notes that women with children were the least likely to access full-time decent work, while women without children experienced high access to decent work. Men with children also able to access decent work and faced no barriers. This highlights the care and nurture role associated with women with children and highlights the critical need for the provision of quality childcare services. Certain proposals has been included in the proposed employment bill that will encourage women's participation in the workplace. These include relaxation on restrictions of nighttime work, performing work from remote locations, flexible work arrangements such as part-time work and compressed work week, and labor legislation for domestic workers who are largely women. On a positive side, Sri Lanka has been placed first in the health sector as per the Global Gender Gap Report 2024, indicating there is no gender gap. Sri Lanka has also achieved high enrollment rates in education for women and girls in primary, secondary, and tertiary education, recording no gender gap as per the Global Gender Gap Report of 2024. The literacy levels of both women at 92.3% and men 94.3% are high. So these are just some of the areas addressed in the report. Sri Lanka urgently needs to address key legislative changes to bring about changes that will help women participate in decent work and improve the labor force participation rate. So today's discussion will focus on the following key areas which we believe can help women and girls access their rights, be on an equal footing, and feel empowered. 1, breaking barriers by empowering women in leadership. 2, empowering women through education and advocacy. 3, building confidence through leadership skills for women. 4, gender equality in the workplace. And last but not least, opportunities for women in the management accounting profession. Some of these areas will be covered by our keynote address, and we will try to cover as many areas as possible in our panel discussion. So let me now warmly welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Dashma Karunaratne. Dashma is the Chief Commercial Officer of Colombo West International Terminal at the Port of Colombo. She has also been commended for her contribution towards diversity and inclusion by IFC, CMA Global, AP Moller Group, WILAT, and DP World. Iranti Pereira, who is a member of the CMA Women's Leadership Committee, will be moderating our panel discussion. We look forward to a very interesting panel discussion guided by Iranti. And our panel consists of 4 individuals, experts in their own fields, who will help to enrich our knowledge on the topic under discussion. So without further ado, let's now begin this evening's program, which I'm sure you're looking forward to. Thank you.
It's my privilege to invite Professor Lakshman R. Vatawala, Founder President of CMA Sri Lanka, to address the gathering.
Good evening to you all. Our Vice President, Mr. Hennayaka Bandara, our Council members, Mr. Gajendra, our CEO, Mr. Kosala Disanayaka, and of course the Chairperson of the Women's Leadership Committee, Ms. Darshini, and the other members, our keynote speaker. She is Dashima, yeah. I was thinking of Darshini. So anyway, we have a very powerful speakers and panelists. And let me congratulate the Women's Leadership Committee of CMA Sri Lanka for organizing this very important seminar on the to celebrate the International Women's Day 2025. I can also see that our Women's Leadership Committee is a part of SAFA, and the chairperson of the SAFA Women's Committee, Ms. Chamila Kure, is also present. So I think that's also a very, I must thank her for being present today and adding strength to the women who are there in the panel as well as the others. Now, one of the more important things that we have to look at, I think Darshini mentioned about the women in the labor force, where it is reducing. Now, in this respect, actually, we have CMA has taken some. They are taking a leadership, and I think that responsibility will be given to the Women's Committee. One of the areas is, of course, there are quite a number of women who are housewives. And if you really look at the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the successes were that a lot of them were working from home. And I think this should be promoted, and this will help a lot of women to commence their employment. Plus also from our side that where we are planning to give the accounting education, the management accounting education to them, where they can study from home and also they can do the practical aspects. One of the areas that we have succeeded is conducting many of our courses online, especially the practical ones, the IT programs that we are doing. Also what we today have what is called the Speechcraft program, which is on a hybrid mode, and that seems to be quite successful, and we find that a lot of the ladies who are attending have been doing extremely well. So this gives them an opportunity to be successful. So I don't want to talk too much in detail, but I just want to tell you that CMA is really involved in equipping future accountants, and three key areas that we are concentrating, of course, is the digital technology. The other one, of course, is the value creation and solution savvy. Now, these are areas that I'm sure all of you are quite conversant with, and this will help our students to reach new grounds and also to get the employment that they need. As management accountants, today one of the key areas that you see is the costing area, and I'm sure Ms. Darshika was also be knowing that competitiveness, if we are to go into be competitive, then certainly we have to see that our productivity is high and also our costs are low if we are going to maybe succeed in this field. And I think she is in a field where there is a lot of competition, but I don't know whether a lot of women are employed in that, although maybe at the higher positions they are there, but maybe in the lower positions she might be able to tell us about it. But I feel that a lot of them may be not women, but today they are training them. The latest was that where maybe even for jobs the government has also decided to give preference to women. So with that, I'm sure that we can, the theme of this seminar for all women and girls, rights, equality and empowerment. I don't want to talk too much on it, but definitely our keynote speaker and the panelists, and of course our moderator will be able to go into this in detail. One area that I want to tell you is on the inclusive education. Now that's the area that we have been really involved in as a national professional management accounting body, where we are able to give the education at an affordable price and also to enable people from the outstations and rural areas also to take the exam, where we permit them to do the first two stages in the local language and thereafter for the professional level to go into the English language. And that's why where the Speechcraft program is very useful to everyone, to build them, to build the confidence, and of course to create leaders, both men and women. So once again, let me congratulate the Women's Leadership Committee, backed by, of course, the South Asian Federation of Accountants. The leader is here from our own country, which is indeed a very big advantage, and also maybe credit to Sri Lanka, where you have achieved the leadership. I mean, I'm sure you are getting the full cooperation from our own CMA to support you in this. So let me wish this seminar all the best, and let me also thank everyone who has taken the time to participate in this very important area of the celebrating International Women's Day 2025. And I do hope that after the event that you will be staying back with us, and that we will be able to have a networking session and also some dinner with you. Thank you and all the best.
We are honored to have with us today Ms. Dashma Karunaratne as our keynote speaker. She is the Chief Commercial Officer of Colombo West International Terminal at the Port of Colombo. Ms. Karunaratne is a fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants along with 3 chartered memberships: Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, and Chartered Global Management Accountancy. She is holding a Master's in Business Studies from Colombo University. In her career, she has held diverse roles in corporate finance, business strategy, diversity and inclusion, and conglomerates and multinational companies. She has been also commended for her contribution towards diversity and inclusion by IFC, CIMA Global, AP Moeller Group, Willet and DP World. Ms. Karunaratne will now share her insights on our theme for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. Please join with me to welcome her with a big round of applause.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Darshini, for inviting me, Professor Lakshman and the committee, and my fellow panelists, and the audience. I was expecting a different audience, so I need to quickly change my keynote speech because there are some gentlemen also in our midst. So I'm just making a lot of assumptions like all finance people do. So I'm assuming that I was invited because I'm considered successful. But in fact, the truth is that I've had many challenges. My success is a result of many defeats, and I have endured defeats both in my career and in my personal life. So it's very difficult for me to open up and tell the challenges that I've had. But I think it's important that we share those because I believe it's a hybrid meeting and there are some youngsters who are in this, who will benefit out of my story. So I have overcome sticky floors, gone through misunderstandings at work, miscarriages. I've had my share of cuts and bruises. We've just started operating in terms of managing trial ships at West Terminal, and Trish and I both have got thoroughly sunburnt. So I do have some blemishes also. I think that comes with age. But my bruises and cuts are not visible. For someone who's seated across me at a table will not know the price I had to pay to take this role. So if I look back, victory is determined not by defeat, but on resilience and will. I thank God for the privilege and the blessing that has been bestowed upon me. And I must thank my parents who were government, civil workers, didn't have lots of disposable income. And whatever they earned, they spent on my sister and I on our education. They made sure we went to like Bishop's College, and then at some point I had to go to Visakha. But I think parents, we take them for granted, have sacrificed a lot. And yes, I love my husband, but I don't think anyone sacrifices as much as our parents. And I think it's important that at every occasion we honor them and give them that credit. So yes, I've been blessed, but it has come with a lot of hard work. And thank you for reading out all my qualifications. So for a female, I'm sure for male also, it's definitely a must-have. It's integral for your impact to be impactful. But for a female to be successful, there's no other alternate. For you to command your place, you have to have your qualifications. And the more qualifications you have and the more diversity you have in your portfolio of qualifications, I think people hear you better. And sometimes women also need to raise their voice. And it's very important that we choose the right place and the right time. to do that. And when you do that, all the men get very uncomfortable. And the first thing they will tell me, Dashma, you're getting emotional. And if a man does that, sorry, gentlemen, you'll have to bear with me because I prepared this for the women. It's Women's Day. It is fine. If a man does that, it's very macho, it's accepted, he's very passionate about the business. But if Dashma or Trishani or Dashni, I don't think she loses a cool, but if she does, it's like, gosh, these girls are so emotional. So while we take pride in Sri Lanka's stats, and yes, there's no gender pay gap in certain roles or certain verticals, if you look at it very closely, you will notice that all mothers and fathers would want their children to be accountants. Some would say doctors, but they wouldn't want them to, work late hours and all of that. But for the prestige of being a doctor, they will stomach it. They say, okay, go and do that. Trish had a dream of becoming a lawyer, but was told, it may not be the best for a female. So where I come from in the maritime or port industry, I'm sure most of you will not even think of putting your daughters into maritime or port industry because you think it's cranes, it's industrial, it's a location with cranes and all of that. It's hard labor, strikes, all of that. But where Trishani and I work, we work for West Terminal. It's Sri Lanka's first automated terminal. And when we say automated, us being Sri Lankans, we'll say, oh my gosh, no jobs. Actually, no, people are being upskilled. Jobs, humans are used for their intelligence, not just to manually operate terminals or cranes. Also, in terms of safety aspect, it's a safer job because even in slight rain like this or heavy rain, people used to go on the yard, get on cranes and work. Now they can work in a remote location, in a safe building, and there's no risk in their job. So all these things are possible because of collaboration. And sometimes as a nation, we need to understand when do we collaborate and when do we hold our pride and say, look, this is my asset, my resource. Or do we collaborate with people or countries or partners who bring that expertise to the country? Because as we look at it at West Terminal, not even 10% are expats. So most of the jobs that are held in C-suite level and below are Sri Lankans. And as we speak, females who are coming from villages are now trained to become operators. And they're traveling to India for the first time. And when a female travels, you know how difficult it is to get permission, no? Younger girls, sorry. So these ladies have traveled to Vizhinjam, found out how our automated terminal works, and it's not easy for them to get on that plane and go, There are like stereotype thinking at home. Neighbors are like, "Aane duwa bändalath naha, දැන් මේ පිරිමි ගොඩක් එක්ක රට යනවා." Those are the dilemmas that the men will not even have to worry. Like even to date, if I have to travel, the first person I tell is my husband. But for a male, I don't think it's a big deal, Just a wife, they'll call the wife at home and say, "Please make sure my jacket is dry cleaned." I'm sure these gentlemen are not like that, but in a normal Sri Lankan setup, I think that's how it is. Sorry, gentlemen, I didn't mean to corner you, but just to get a feeler of the audience, I'd like to know how many of your spouses are doing a job in addition to being a housewife and running a family. Any show of hands? So there's 3 gentlemen. I'm so sure Professor Lakshman's wife would have done a job at some point. Okay, so I have found that wherever my boss has a female daughter or a working wife, ladies, you all didn't put your hands up. Your spouses are not doing jobs, is it? Or they're pretending to do a job. So wherever I have had male bosses who have daughters or who have wives who are doing jobs, they have a little bit more empathy and a little bit more understanding, I think. So yes, I saw the tagline, the 3 lines which says rights, equality and empowerment, right? These are great aspirations, but I would say we shouldn't think about equality, we should actually think of equity, because for a female to come to work, It means, I'll just take a standard example. For me to come to work, it means my children's bags have to be packed, homework has to be done, their tiffins have to be filled, and if they have after school, their pick up, their drop off, their clothes, what else, Trish? What do I struggle? All that has to be done. So in the same way, if you have aging parents, the responsibility of looking after the aging parent lies more on the lady, because I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, but women naturally are nurturers. So that's why in the health sector, as Darshini said, there's a greater representation of women, because naturally women are nurturers. We have a womb, we carry babies, we have that quality in us. So all those responsibilities also fall into a woman's life. So if you have aging parents, then that responsibility also comes to a woman. Maybe your own parents or maybe your in-laws. Okay, gentlemen, take a check. So that is why we need to have equity in what we do. So providing parking for a pregnant employee in your workplace versus parking for a C-suite role, you need to think twice. For me, my toughest day in my life was leaving my little baby, 3-month-old baby, and coming to work into the port. When you go for a job in the port, there are no creches. Your children can't drop in to see Amma at work. And there's no facility for you to, extract milk and, all of those things. In your workplaces, how many of the ladies, I think, have a greater responsibility to make sure that this equality or equity happens at work? Because these are the factors that take women back home, so they will have a great degree, they will be having first class, the turnout is great, but you will notice that after a year or two, even a doctor would not be able to specialize, or even a lady, after most probably getting free education, will have to stay back at work, of course, to do a great thing, looking after your children, because there's no substitute for a mother. But yet, Sri Lanka, the society is it's very strange, because I have friends who have done much better than me in studies, gone to medical college, gone to universities, got the best qualifications, used Sri Lankan resources, but they choose to stay at home and look after their 1 or 2 children. Nothing wrong in that, but our life should be more than that. It should go beyond my family and my children. Yes, they are priority. I am their only mother. But our lives have to be a bit more than that. So contrastingly, we have helpers who have left their family, they've left their children and gone for a better horizon, going behind a mirage, going overseas, and they are contributing so much to Sri Lanka's dollar income. We all know that the first income is all exports of labor, and then also export of garments, all that, and that's all women. So when these ladies leave their homes, leave their children, and go overseas, hoping for, foreign employment, 60,000, 100,000 salary, they come back after 2 years, 3 years, all of that, to dysfunctional homes. Right? So there is one elite group who will just stay and look after their children and make sure they are dropped and picked and fed on time. But there are others who have to make that choice and leave their little children and go overseas to earn, because there's no other option. So I think life is not fair when you look at it. Every woman should have the choice to stay at home or to go to work. But that decision should be their own decision. It's not what society wants, or it's not what your earnings are earnings are determined by your earnings. So I just want to, just in closing, I think I'm running out of time. We all as women especially need to raise and uplift a woman. I would like you all and all those who are connected online, how many lives are you impacting? We have made it assumption, we are on the panel. How many lives are we impacting beyond our children? So I think we have to, I hold that mirror in front of me, and I think, what have I done, or what am I doing with the blessings that I have been blessed with? Am I blessing another? Am I funding another child? Am I helping my PA or my team member to do better in their education? Do I have at least 2 or 3 mentees? Have I worked on 3 CVs in the last 3 months to make sure someone gets a job break? Have I given a reference? These are little things that we need to do. And just because I had it hard doesn't mean my junior team members must have it the hard way, because it is not fair, because the capability is the same. Of course, men have certain unique talents, women also have unique talents, and when we pool both together, there's creativity, innovation, and productivity. One gender doesn't have to be superior to another. So yes, let's see how we can accelerate growth and empower the women that are in our lives. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karunaratne, for your insightful and empowering message. Now we move on to one of the most engaging segments of today's program, the panel discussion. We are privileged to have a distinguished panel of experts who will share their perspective on for all women and girls' rights, equality and empowerment. Moderating this discussion is Ms. T.L. Iranthi Pereira, member of the CMA Women and Leadership Committee and Head of Business Excellence and Procurement at Nippon Paints, Lanka.
Thank you, Sudarshini. Thanks for your eye-opening speech, Dashma. I wonder whether I spoke or whether you spoke on behalf of me. Those are some thoughts that I wanted to share with the others. And we are here today to craft a future with generic leaders, despite the gender. Leadership is leadership. No women leaders or male leaders. So we have a distinguished panel with 6 members. I would like to introduce them purely because you all will understand, you and the ones who have joined online, to take home something, think something different than you are today. They are investing their time in you, so make use of it. So we have Mrs. Aruni Malalasekara, Mrs. Darshini Vatawala, Mr. Lasantha Dasanayaka, Mrs. Chamila Kure, Mrs. Dashma Karunaratne, and Mrs. Madhumi Pereira. A brief introduction will give you what questions you can ask them, so you can learn a lot. Aruni is an entrepreneur, an architecture, and she's helping the climate and environment to be sustainable, where we all can live happily. She's exposed to so many industries, especially she's the second women governor to serve the district Rotary in Sri Lanka. And Darshini, a director at Deloitte Partners and committee member of SAFA, Women's Leadership Committee, and a senior evaluator of annual CMA Integrated Reporting Awards competition. Lasantha is the Vice President HR at NDB and a member of bank's senior leadership team. He's exposed to aviation industry, IT, manufacturing, and financial services. Chamila Kure is the chairperson of SAFA and Women Leadership Council member of CA Sri Lanka. Dashma, no introductions unless it will be duplicated. Madhumi is the director, examination. Dear panelists, please come here for a valuable discussion. Mostly welcome again. Leadership is not an overnight achievement, should be developed gradually. So my first question I would like to ask Lasantha, how can you encourage young girls to see themselves as leaders from their childhood?
First of all, let me thank CMA for inviting me. I clearly see that I am the diversity hire for this panel, so I'm a lucky one, I guess. But more to the question that you posed to me about inspiring young females, especially in a Sri Lankan context. I think how I look at it is there is four combination of things, I would say. Four aspects to this inspiring young females. Earlier the speakers referred to this. One of the main things is education. And I'll go to a little elaborating these four areas. Education, then mentorship, that was also spoken a while ago. The third element is the cultural shift that we are looking at. Then the systemic changes that we need to have. So these four facets, a combination of these four facets are needed to inspire, and also not just inspire, I would say build confidence also in the younger generation. So on the side of education, I think in a Sri Lankan context especially, the family members, the school, the media plays a big role in the part of education. Now, from a early education point of view, I think policymakers should look at specifically leadership skills, inculcating, other than of course doing the co-curriculum, inculcating leadership skills, critical thinking skills, because these are some of the aspects which are needed by the professional industries that we are working on. Then also exposing younger generation to role models is also critical. Successful role models. Now, if I can give you a few examples, if you look at the entrepreneurial side of things, we have people like Otara Gunawardena. If you look at educationalists, we have Deshbandhu Ismail, the famous educationist. Then if you look at the political arena, even the current Prime Minister could be a role model. And there are politicians from both sides of the divide. So do we actually portray them? That's why I said media also plays a part in inspiring confidence and inspiration as well. So media has a big part to play in it, and also the school education also can look at leadership camps as and when if it's possible, and also connecting students at a very young age to mentorship programs through some of these chosen role models, etc. So these are some of the things that can be looked at a school level. Like I said, the influencers are family members, school, and media to a large extent. From the policy making side, from a government point of view, I think enabling rules and regulations, or the legislation and regulations that we have for employment. It was referred, I think Darshika referred to some of the progressive steps which have already been taken, but it's still not law. What we have as labor laws and regulations are something, some things which have been enacted in the 1950s. There's nothing wrong back then, because there was issues in transportation, providing safety to the women folk when they are at work, etc. That was relevant at that point of time. World has moved, needs of the industries have moved, etc. So these labor related legislations, regulations also need to very quickly change. Otherwise, adaptability becomes very less. I think again it was referred earlier during the COVID time, because there was more remote working options given, more females perhaps were conducive to work. But now a lot of organizations have gone back on that. What used to work, they are recalling people back. So this again poses a challenge for some of the females to work. That is why I mentioned that this needs to get reformed very soon. Not just that, and also laws which prevent females working after 8 o'clock, etc. These are some of the other challenges that is there in terms of regulations and law. So I think it's a combination of things, like what I said, in those four areas.
You have explained really well in the question that I crafted to you. A child should be developed with combination of sources: education, mentoring, culture, and systemic changes, together with legal frameworks. As you say, it's 70 years old. You are an expert to talk about it. So my next question I would like to ask Aruni. In educational barriers, in terms of educational barriers in developing countries, as Sri Lanka, what do you think about it? What are they if education is not up to the standard? Why they are not up to the standard? And how to overcome? Because in case sorry to interrupt, if the education is not up to the standard, we have our own ability to self-learn. So you can give your opening session to the audience.
So actually in the developing countries, today self-learning is made much easier because the online platform is available. And I think even in our country, I find that even in the rural areas, most of the children, they are computer savvy. And I think this is a blessing that COVID brought all of us to become IT savvy and to also get used to the online platform. And the only thing I find is that the language barrier, because most of the children in the outskirts, they have an issue in understanding English. That is the only issue that we have. So apart from that, I think that children especially, they learn from others. It's not necessarily from books and papers. It's just that today they have the opportunity to move around with different cultures, different backgrounds, because we have diverse cultures and people around. So, however, I think that unfortunately in a country, a developing country, one of the issues that we have is, of course, economic reasons. And especially the girl child doesn't get the opportunity always to go to school and to attend school regularly, because we don't have, one thing is that both parents, when they go to work, the girl child doesn't get the opportunity to go to work, go to school, because the eldest generally the oldest girl in the family takes care of the other siblings. So that has been one of the key issues that we are faced with. But apart from that, as I said, there are facilities available. Parents can encourage these children who cannot attend school still be taught in their homes. So I think educating a girl child is educating a mother, and educating a mother is educating a family. And I think we must give emphasis to educating the female children in this situation.
Thank you, Aruni. In short, education is the cornerstone in all aspects. Educating a girl child is educating family. Educating family is education. Set of families comprise the nation. Education is good. It should come with leadership and confidence. Our theme today, equality, empowerment. There are educated people, but do they have the leadership? Do they have the power to go forward? And the confidence building. I would like to ask Chamila, how do you see the confidence and leadership building should be inculcated into this education system and take ladies forward like you?
Yeah. First of all, let me thank CMA Sri Lanka for having me representing the South Asian Federation of Accountants. Women's Leadership Committee, it's a moment of pleasure to represent the country there. To answer your question, Iranti, I think as Dashma said, your education, your qualification itself give you that first ingredient to be confident. You cannot be confident in areas where you don't have understanding or insights. So education is key for you to have the confidence, and also confidence is required for you to have been a leader. So it's a combination, it's a chain of things that goes together. You can't have one without the other. And I do agree our education system is not supported adequately to build the confidence and the leadership skills of the young girls who become the labor force in the country. But it's all to do with the individual also. It is said that, you can bring the hose to the water, but you can't get the hose to drink the water, right? So likewise, empowerment comes if you are willing to be empowered. Nobody can empower you if you are not willing to. So it's the individual's responsibility to make sure that you get the right skills for the journey that you are looking forward to. And in building that confidence, in building that leadership skills to an individual, I think the self-awareness is a crucial point for every individual to understand where do I stand, what do I want to do, where is my gap, and how do I bridge that gap for me to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And secondly, I think they should also focus on the growth mindset. You can't be in a well and think about the whole world, what's happening. You have to come out of it, and you have to have a bigger view, bigger scope for you to grow. So I think these are things that we need to probably included into our curricula from education point of view. And also there is a huge responsibility, as Dashma said, people who have gone that journey without waiting somebody else's also have to come the hard way. I have done it hard way, why the others should make it easier. We also have a responsibility to make sure that we give that support we give that mentoring for people to come out of their challenges and achieve what all of us as a nation wanted to achieve as well. I think that's my view on it.
Do you agree with her? I am fully of her view. We should have initially our own self-leadership. I still cannot forget our keynote speaker said, yes, I am blessed, but it came with a lot of hard work. Yes. Ladies, there is a limit, others can help us. The rest, we have to walk alone. Dashma, 2024 gender gap report in education, health in Sri Lanka is very good. Minimal gender gap. But is the country's government investing right, is my question. Over a period, economic labor participation is widened over a period. You are holding a high position in Port of Colombo, a tough job for a lady. So what are your proposals in case for us to think? And if we are to propose this for the policymakers, what do you think, how this should be addressed? We invest a lot in education, health and everything, secondary level, tertiary level, yes, we learn. After that, investment in education becomes nearly zero. Economic benefits don't reap out. What do you think about it? And what are your suggestions?
So about the gender gap in the health sector, there's nil, they say. I would like to go a little below the surface and see when you say gender gap and representation of women in medical field, if you look at who are the top cardiologists, if I ask all of you, how many females are there? If you look at, I don't know, just pick up because we do this number game even in the plantation sector. You say, plantation sector, women representation is, I don't know, 40% or 50, 60%. I can't remember the numbers now. But actually, if you go into detail, or even in the apparel sector, the women representation, the number is coming at low level, skill level. Okay? So we can be happy saying, look, at least there is some kind of parity, there is some kind of equality or equity in it. But we have to really understand. So I can relate to this from my sector. I'm from the maritime sector. Women representation is like single digit overall at Port of Colombo. With West Terminal coming in, our women representation is at 24%, 23, I think last time we checked. So how is that achieved when across the Port of Colombo it's less than 10%? And a particular terminal, which is a joint venture between a Indian party, Adani, John Keel's and Ports Authority, how did they make the difference? So automation, just like we were talking about COVID and all those, I think the skill development, IT savviness, STEM, I think that plays a big role. So again, to make that happen, there's a lot of thinking, lot of strategy, lot of tactical level initiatives that need to be done. I think we all know what needs to be done, but we know how difficult it is. It's a swim against the current. It's day in, day out to swim against the current. So there have been times when I would ask the CEO now, hello, we said 30% women representation, but the last 10 recruitments were all men. And naturally, because of our society and expectations, all of that, when we get in 30% women, for example, I mean, you would have that experience, you will see that a lot of ladies fall by the wayside, I would say, because of other challenges. So then we have to bring semi-virtual models and all of that to make sure that the ladies are stayed back.
Rashma, let me interrupt you. During your interviews with these ladies for higher level positions. Do you see all these ladies are capable to take challenges in majority, or they are passive workers?
So I think when we talk about leadership, we have the stereotype of a leader. Aggressive, dynamic, go-getter. But for a board to be sound, I mean, Professor will hear me out here, is that sometimes the introverts, the thinkers, the creative people, you need that representation on a board. You need those roles in a leadership. If everyone was like me, oh my goodness, that organization will be, it won't be a sustainable organization. You need those thinkers who will say, what about this? Let's look at the risk. And then the finance person will look at the numbers. So you need that diversity. So even in leadership, when you talk about recruitment for leadership roles, most interview panels are, the representation itself is male. So then they go and put one female there, and then if that female is not worthy of that role and has no agenda on diversity, she kills it for everybody. So it's important that even at interviews, how we showcase, and then there are these trick questions. So when did you get married? So if the girl has got married in the last 6 months, no chance, she will not be recruited. Okay, I'm sure you all don't practice these things, but there are those trick questions, So if your spouse is, some government employee who's going to get transferred, then that lady will not be touched because she's going to leave. So I'm just saying that education, skill development, all that is important. But as Chamila said, we need to be more empathetic. We need to understand the issues. We need to give them the education. So we are recruiting crane operators. And there are very few crane operators in Sri Lanka who are female. So what does that mean? The organization has to invest. They have to buy those tickets to visit them, get their visa, make sure that they go for those training programs, understand, rub shoulders with the men, prove and get some stripes. And then, yes, you can give like a $10 million crane and say, look, please operate it. Somewhere there, I'm not supposed to tell the values, but $10 million crane, you're not going to just give to any untrained team member, right? So, so organizations have to put in a lot of effort too. HR has to play a critical role. Like even your job advertisements, we need to look at it. If it's a picture of all men, we notice this in the universities. So there are universities that teach transport, logistics, and maritime. If anyone wants to join the port, they'll be like, no, ladies, you all should join the airport. Now, you all tell me as Sri Lankan citizens, what is the better entity? Economic-wise, port, even during COVID, during the civil unrest, all of that, was the nerves, it was like the nervous, I would say we had self-sustainability in there, we had resilience there, we had dollars coming into the country versus Sri Lankan Airlines. So, which lecturer would tell a lady, go join an airline? Because in their mind, it's a hostess, not even a pilot. So I think all that thinking, that learning, that exposure, mentoring, I think all that has to come together. And we have to call it out also. Even sometimes lecturers are like that. So you need to call it out.
Overall, Dashma, education, mentoring, culture, systemic changes, as Lasantha mentioned, should work together for a lady to come up, and also men to give that chance for a lady to perform. Whatever is said and done, ultimately profit matters. We speak in financial terms, quality versus quantity. So management accountant is the person who think about the bottom line. Madhumi, you can share your views, how CMA can help for ladies to become leaders in management accounting area and help the nation with making the corporates profitable, and what actions you have taken already.
At the point of CMA, so we are the only national body, management accounting body in Sri Lanka, who provides that management accounting education in Sri Lanka. So we'll be, when we have to look at how we have been evolved this profession also, management accounting. Earlier, it was kind of a male-dominated sector. Mostly of them are male who have been doing management accounting. Cost accountants, exactly. So later on, but with the education, the girls, women, they have engaged in the education, accounting, finance education. With that, there's openings for them, right? Mid of 20s, so they have started learning accounting and they have moved forward. With that, management accounting came into open for the girls, open for the women. So they have, at present, if we look at the statistics and all, first I'll take the student populations as the previous speakers also said. Around 60% of student population are women, girls, they are in the education. But this is a STEM education. So because they are the contributors for the economic development directly, and this industry developments, all these policies, governance, all the areas. So, but up to that, they are doing well. I mean, like they are doing the education, out of the, like 50% of them are doing following the courses. But later on, when it comes to job placements, there are issues over there. Out of that, only 30% of them will be getting the job opportunities. So education is there, equally we should provide them the job opportunities as well. Most of them will be in the mid-level job professions, management accounting or accounting both. But the problem is how they should move up, mobility, upskilling. Because going for the leadership levels, going for the corporate boards, board representations, is very difficult because there are a lot of glass ceilings for them.
I didn't get you right.
So there are a lot of barriers for them to move on. So it can be the work environment, it can be some work policies, or else that cultural norms, social norms, all these things are matters for them. So then I'll come back to again for the accounting education, the management accounting education in Sri Lanka. So look at the curriculum wise, how we are developing them. I must say all the accounting bodies in Sri Lanka are doing kind of a good job, because their curriculums and all these testings, how they are giving the engagements for the women are much more. Because any education should be able to develop the competencies relevant to their jobs. So competency is not just one thing, it's about like knowledge, attitudes, all the skills together, not one thing. So these programs all were able to give that components to be included. So with that, women had a chance for them to grow, have to develop themselves. That's why they came to this level and they were employed in the middle level. But there is a gap. It's very slow progress in the next level. So that we need to have some policies, and even the women should get that challenge and get that in and to get move forward.
Good point, Madhumi. Before we speak on further on that, I would like to ask Darshini, what are your advices to CMA management accountants? Because Madhumi says soft skills should be developed so they can climb the ladder.
Yes, so I think soft skills are an integral part of the education of a professional, and you need those skills to move up the ladder. So for a management accountant, once you qualify, I think the statistic, as Madhumi also mentioned, when we look at our student population, 50% of the student population is female. But when we come to look at the member body, yes, Shabila knows that, 25% of the members are only female, right? So from that 50%, you're looking at 25%. So what happened to all these females? Why are they dropping out? What's the reason for that? So that is something that I think as in the Women's Leadership Committee also, I think we were looking at actually a mentorship program also to look at different females in different stages of their education. Let's say past finalists who have not got the membership for some reason, or those who have given up their education at some point for some reason or the other. So these are some of the things I think we also kind of need to look at and see why females are not going to that membership level. Obviously, there are lots of challenges for them to reach that position, to get that membership. So this is something we really kind of need to look at and resolve to ensure that the female member body increases.
Noting your point, Darshini, 50% of member base had declined by 50% to 25% of members.
It's students are 50%.
50%.
But when it comes to members we have only 25% females, yes.
50% investment is a question mark. Challenges are everywhere, as Darshini mentioned. There's no life without challenges. So challenges are there to manage. Women have a challenge to self-drive, look after families, and also to be in par with males. Education and leadership only can help it. So I would like to ask Lasantha, do you think the experiences that you have with the ladies' interviews, how do they portray their negotiation skills? A lady dealing with another lady needs to be changed when they deal with a different personality, a different industry. Are they flexible? How you have experienced that?
I think your question is around the negotiations part.
And soft skills as well.
So negotiation skill is a soft skill.
Yes.
Now, how I look at it is, especially this is relevant to persons or female when they come into the corporate world, in terms of promotions, negotiating their salaries, or it can be anything to do with leadership opportunities. So this becomes a critical skill. Culturally, again, I'm going back to the culture because some perspective was given by the panelists that you also have to self-motivate kind of thing. But is the culture conducive for that atmosphere is my question. You can motivate yourselves to an extent, but if the culture is also holding you back, then it becomes a challenge, right? So that's why I said at the start, the cultural shift is also key element.
Doesn't the cultural shift take a long time?
It takes a long time.
Opportunity availability and opportunity creation is two different things.
So let me answer that on the part of what a female can do in terms of better negotiation. Cultural element is there, we can't ignore that. But having said that, there is a little bit of things that you can start doing, especially for the young audience who are here. Some of the things I have observed is first and foremost, you have to have a value for what you bring to the table. If you have underestimated your value as a female, then you have lost the race there itself, right? So first, put a value. How do I put a value? I need to do my background work. I need to look at the industry I'm working in the shipping or the health sector or banking or whatever the industry I'm going to. I need to evaluate myself against that. Then when you're going to the negotiating table, be it a business negotiation or promotion or salary negotiation, I have to ensure that I have my facts and data researched, because that brings credibility. Otherwise you're just going to, you're not confident. Your confidence goes up when you are backed with data and facts in hand. then there are a little bit more, soft skills also coming into this play. Your communication skills. When I see communication skills, assertive communication skills, not just the ability to speak language as in English or Tamil or Sinhala or some other language. Once you have mastered that, it's assertive communication. What do I mean by assertive communication? It's to speak with clarity and to the point. That is very important in assertive speaking. Culturally, again, I'm coming back to that. Our females are not, given support in terms of being assertive. It's simply that if you are assertive, then you are considered to be, too talkative. Girls don't talk like that. You have to bossy, tomboy, right? All this. So I'm in line with my thinking. I guess the females agree with me. Right, that's a cultural element which comes. So what do we do with this? So what is important here is that we learn to again keeping tab of what I said earlier. With all that, that we communicate respectfully. It doesn't mean that you become curt and impolite, etc. But speak with clarity, etc. And you don't need to be apologetic also. Sometimes I feel people come in front of me and they say, I'm sorry to bring this to your attention, but my salary is low. You start by saying, I'm sorry. You need not be apologetic, right? So assertive communication becomes key and critical for a female. And another soft aspect of it is your non-verbal cues also matter. What do I mean by this is, how you are you looking at somebody in their eye when they're speaking, your posture, all these things matter. These are non-verbal communication, but all that things add. These are some of the things I can point out immediately in terms of negotiation skills. One other element is this need practice. Like any other soft skill, you need practice. So my advice to females out there is start with, this is not easy. It doesn't come naturally. You have to train this like any other skill. So start by low impact activity. Don't immediately now tomorrow go and say I need a salary hike. If you can, by all means do that. But start with the low impact ones. Maybe asking for a cup of tea, it doesn't matter, from the canteen guy, right? Because practice makes perfect. And then you can go to bigger things like asking for rise in your pay if your pay is not equitable, especially being better able to negotiate your terms, etc. With the prospective employees or the current employee. One other thing I forgot to mention, your mentors and network is also key and critical, because mentors can give you that insight on the business negotiation that you are going in for. Your network also helps. If you know people, that helps your negotiation skills, because if I know somebody in a particular company that I'm trying to make a business deal, that becomes a better negotiating platform. So I can't emphasize the importance of mentors and networking, which I think males do it a little bit better in terms of networking than females for varying reasons. Again, for cultural reasons also. I'm going back to that, because if you over-socialize in a Sri Lankan context, females, that might not be looked at in a, that is typical, stereotypical way of looking at it. But if a male has a network, it's not even, looked at badly.
Critical point, Lasantha. Thank you so much. And with due respect to all the panelists, you are emphasizing on systemic changes and cultures. So I think your support is so valuable. Overall, when we speak, yeah.
I think because we spoke about negotiation, when a female negotiates, she needs to hold on the fort as well. Because you can't, come into the war and then say, oh my God, I can't fight because this weapon is too heavy for me. I have told my girls, if you have negotiated and come, and you are ready to work in the late hours, don't ask me to provide the transport and I can't go alone, give me another guy to go along with me. No. So when you fight, when you wanted that empowerment, when you negotiate to be equitable or equal, you need to hold on to what you bring into the table as well, and you shouldn't be lowering
Absolutely right,
that as well.
Shamila. In short, education is two ways. What we get from out and what comes within. There is a limit that we can take from out, but it's unlimited what we can take from within. Overall, everything has a challenge. Culture, education, updated education systems, and deteriorated education systems. You can name anything, but ladies, we have to survive. We have to survive short term, and we have to go a bit of a medium term in financial terms and long term. All industries might not competitive for you to play, but there could be some blue oceans. You, Aruni, in a blue ocean, being a humanitarian and climate and environmental survivor, are you comfortable to play? Do you have challenges as Dashmine or Chamilain? I don't mention Lasanta because he's a bit different. And Darshini, as well as I'm also into supply chain, having a lot of challenges. Do you have, or you are in a blue ocean where you have a lot of competitive advantages? Teach them. Can they be like that?
And I think in a work environment, there are always challenges. And of course, in my field, being an architect, it's very competitive because, especially when it comes to our clients, each one is different to one another and their requirements are different. So it's not a stereotype of background that we work in. It is a case-by-case analysis, and then, of course, at the end of the day, it's about how happy the client is with the work that we produce when it comes to architecture and planning and so on. So I think it's about, we also run our practices, so each one is better than the other. So it's about, if especially when you're an entrepreneur and when you have your own professional practice, there is a lot of competition that we have to face. So only thing is, I must say, the competition is, we don't set our standard as to, there is no gender separation there, because as leaders in our profession, whether you're male or female,
it's
you're
your
a leader.
creativity,
yes,
and the knowledge that comes within.
That's right. So it's about how creative you are, how analytical you are, and how knowledgeable you are about the environment and people. That's the most important thing, I would say.
And your area of climate and environmental sustainability, is it still competitive with male participants? I doubt so.
No, because actually it's about, once again, your skill set and your knowledge and how much you are willing to put into to sustainable projects and programs is what really matters. Yes.
Thank you, Aruni. The time allocated for panel discussion is over. It's interesting. In summary, I would say education is compulsory, two-way education, and it comprises hard skills as well as soft skills. If you're capable, go and hit until you come to that level. Start small, as Lasantha mentioned, or find a blue ocean where you can freely available, but don't forget, competitors are yet to come. I would like to hand over this session to the next level to proceed with. Thank you very much, Aruni, Lasantha, Chamila, Madhumi, Dashma, and Darshini. Your invested time here, not a waste. Eye-opening for another lady. Maybe not all, but majority, who wants to climb up their life and their career ladder. Thank you.
Thank you to all our panelists and to our moderator for such an enriching discussion. I would like to invite Professor Lakshman R. Vatawala to join on stage to present token of appreciation to our keynote speaker and panelists. Moderator Iranti Pereira, Miss Iranti Pereira. Miss Dashma Karunaratna. Miss Darshini Vatawala. Miss Chamila Kuri. Miss Madhumi Pereira. Mr. Lasantha Disanayaka. Miss Aruni Mallasekara. Thank you. We now come to the end of our program today to celebrate International Women's Day, and I will now invite Miss Asika Attanayaka, member of CMA's Women's Leadership Committee, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to stand before you today as CMA Sri Lanka celebrates International Women's Day 2025 under the powerful theme for all women and girls, right, equality and empowerment. This theme is a reminder that true progress happens when women have equal rights, equal opportunities and empowerment to lead and success in all areas of life. First and foremost, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Lakshman R. Vatawala, President of CMA Sri Lanka, Mr. Hennayaka Bandara, Vice President of CMA Sri Lanka, Mr. Kosala Disanayaka, CEO of CMA Sri Lanka, and Chairperson Ms. Darshini Vatawala, and the Council members of CMA for their unwavering support and commitment to promoting inclusivity and professional excellence through CMA Sri Lanka. I would also like to thank our esteemed guest, keynote speaker, Ms. Dashma Karunaratne, Chief Commercial Officer of the Colombo West International Terminal of the Port of Colombo, moderator Ms. Iranti Pereira, and our panelists Ms. Chamila Kure and Ms. Madhumi Pereira, Mr. Lasantha Dasanayaka and Ms. Aruni Malasekara for participating in our webinar and sharing their knowledge and insights that has enriched our understanding of the topic under the discussion today. A special appreciation goes to Akela, Ramyani and Shanti, all other at the CMA Secretariat for their tireless effort in organizing the event. And of course, big thank to all the members of CMA Women's Leadership Committee and innovators from the Colombo Business School for their active participation and contribution to the event. Finally, all the remarkable women and men who have joined us today, thank you for being part of this important occasion. Let us take this opportunity not only to celebrate, to reframe our commitment to advocating rights, equality and empowerment every single day. Together we can build future where every woman has the opportunity to achieve her full potential. Wishing you all meaningful and inspiring Women's Day 2025. Thank you.
Before we conclude, let's celebrate this special occasion with great company and delicious food. We'll invite you all to enjoy the opus night as we continue networking and celebrating the spirit of International Women's Day. Thank you for being a part of this meaningful event. Wishing you wonderful and evening ahead.